I had always been fascinated by the idea of urban exploration. There was something thrilling about exploring abandoned buildings that had long since been forgotten by society. So a few years back, when my friend suggested we explore an old office block from the 1960s, I jumped at the chance. We set off on a warm evening. The building was only about an hour's walk from where I lived at the time. As soon as we entered the building, we could hear unexpected noises. It was like someone else was moving around, but there was no sign of anyone else being there. We were both a little nervous about the asbestos hazard signs, but we were masked up and careful to avoid any areas that were clearly marked as dangerous. There was a really creepy vibe, mostly because there was no lights. The corners of the room were so dark you could barely see what was there. Large parts of the building were falling down, and there was rubble and dust everywhere, but we could still see the odd bits of office furniture lying around, which just added to the creepiness. Then we came across an old elevator with a display light on. Even though there was no power in the building, my friend asked if we should get in. I said no chance, but somehow he managed to convince me. We got in and the doors closed. The lift started to move down, but then suddenly jolted and stopped. If that wasn't enough to get my heart racing, immediately we could hear the sounds of people coming from the floor we were just on. It was clear as anything, talking, footsteps, and something metal being dropped on a hard floor. We both just looked at each other, already starting to panic about the lift too. Then suddenly the lift moved again, back up to the floor we came from. I was kind of bracing myself as the doors started to slowly slide open, but in the darkness there was nobody there. The voices had stopped. It's not like we were thinking it was ghosts or anything like that, but I guess we thought that actual people following us was scarier. We both bolted for the entrance we came from, kind of laughing and swearing on the way, but I was definitely worried we were going to get jumped or something, until we got outside into the fresh air and we both just laughed about it. We didn't see anybody on the way out, so I guess we'll never know who the voices were coming from. But one thing's for sure, we both heard them loud and clear. It was one of the scariest experiences of my life. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and my friends and I decided to go on an adventure. We had heard about an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town, and were eager to explore it. We packed our backpacks with flashlights, water bottles and snacks, and we set off on our journey. After hiking for most of the morning, we finally reached the factory. It was a massive building with broken windows, rusted metal doors and graffiti-covered walls. We were excited to explore every corner of it and get some decent footage to post online. The air was thick with dust, and the only sound we could hear was our footsteps echoing through the empty halls. We explored the first 2 floors without any incident, but as we climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, we heard footsteps coming from outside. We looked out the window and saw a group of guys pull up in an SUV outside. They were big, burly men like builders or bouncers or something, looking very serious. We watched as they entered the building and we knew we had to hide. We quickly found a small room on the 3rd floor and shut the door behind us. We barely had time to catch our breath when we heard the men's footsteps getting closer. They were searching for something, and we knew we had to stay quiet. We huddled in the corner of the room, our hearts pounding with fear. We could hear the men's voices getting closer and closer, and we knew we had to come up with a plan. We decided to wait until they were on the other side of the building before making a run for it. After what felt like an eternity, we heard the men's footsteps getting fainter. We knew it was our chance. We quietly opened the door and peeked out. We could see the men down the hall searching through the debris. We took a deep breath and ran as fast as we could in the opposite direction. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew we had to get out of there. We ran down the stairs, through the 1st floor, and out through a door at the end, expecting to see the entrance we had come in, but we must have taken a wrong turn in our panic. There was no door, only a set of stairs heading down. It was our only option, besides heading back the way we came and risk the possibility of bumping into the men. We booked it down the stairs into a huge underground car park, frantically looking for a way out. My friend shouted, "Over here," pointing towards the exit ramp. You could see the faint sunlight coming from the ramp as we took off running. The grass outside at the top was really overgrown, almost blocking our escape route from view. As soon as we stepped outside, we were blinded by the sunlight. We ran towards town, not stopping until we were back in the burbs. We finally caught our breath and looked at each other. We were safe, but we knew we had narrowly escaped some sort of danger. This happened to me last year on summer break from college. It was a hot summer morning, and I was keen to make the most of it. There was an old quarry near my town, and I couldn't wait to explore. As I arrived, I could see a vast slope leading down to a three-sided pit filled with towering cranes and abandoned equipment. I started to walk around, taking pictures and admiring the view. I noticed a huge crane with a ladder, and I decided to climb it. As I climbed higher and higher, I felt a rush of adrenaline. The view from the top was breathtaking, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. However, my adventure took a dark turn when I saw a man in the distance approaching. At first I didn't think much of it, assuming it was just another climber or explorer, but as the figure got closer, I could hear him shouting, "Come down, I want to talk to you." My heart sank as I realised he was coming for me. I tried to ignore him, hoping he would just go away, but then he started banging on the ladder with a metal bar. I turned around to see him laughing maniacally. I was in shock and in fear, wondering what he was capable of doing. I tried to reason with him, telling him that I meant no harm and I was just exploring. But he didn't listen and continued to bang the ladder, raising a huge clanging noise and making the whole thing vibrate. I wanted to descend the crane, but the man was banging and yelling so much I was afraid of what he might do once I got down there. I was so pissed. Who does something like that? But I was also terrified at this point, trapped up a crane with a madman at the bottom, and I couldn't think fast enough. Mercifully, in the distance, I saw a couple running down the slope towards us, shouting at him to stop. They must have been alerted by all the noise he was making and had come to my rescue. The man took off and I was left shaken and traumatised. The couple helped me to my feet and asked if I was okay. I was too shaken to speak, but I managed to nod my head. They offered to drive me home and I accepted gratefully. When I got home, I immediately called the police and reported the incident. They took my statement and promised to investigate. Unfortunately, we couldn't identify the man as we didn't see his face. This experience left me traumatised, and I decided never to explore alone again. Looking back, I realise how lucky I was to have encountered that couple.